Hi, good evening. Let's begin the session. Today we have our first grammar class. Right? Before this, we have had sessions on vocabulary, we have had sessions on reading comprehension, and we have had sessions on verbal logic. Right? Today we are going to begin with grammar. Right? Today what we'll do is we'll discuss certain very basic concepts of grammar. Right? A lot of these concepts you already might be familiar with, but nonetheless, what we'll do is we'll go through it together so that we are on the same page when it comes to these grammar concepts. Okay? The basic intention of today's session is to familiarize you with the basics of grammar. Okay? We will not discuss concepts in detail. That we'll start doing from the next grammar class. For example, even when I discuss parts of speech today, I'll mention what the different parts of speech are. I'll define them, but I will not get into specific details. Right? I will not get into technical concepts, which I will do in the later classes. Right? So today is basically just about the basic concepts of grammar. Right? That is what today's session is. Today's session is primarily going to be theoretical. Right? We will not be doing a lot of questions. So primarily it will be a lot of theory that we'll discuss today, theory related to the basics of grammar. Right? So we won't do a lot of questions. Right? Even the questions that we do, those questions are to be considered more of self-analysis questions. Right? Basically get an idea about where exactly it is that you stand at this point in time when we are beginning with the grammar sessions. Right? So even the questions that we do in class or maybe the questions that you do as homework are basically for self-analysis. And these questions will not be based on theory that we discuss in today's class. And these are basically self-analysis questions to know where exactly it is that you stand as on date with grammar, right? As far as the topic of grammar is concerned. Okay. Let's begin. Okay? Let's begin. Now, before I come to concepts, there are two terms that I would like to define. These two terms are terms that we will use quite often in our classes. Okay? One is semantics and the other is syntax. Semantics and syntax. These are two terms that we'll use quite often in our classes. Right? Please understand what these two terms mean. Right? Please understand what these two terms mean. Semantics refers to what is said. Right? If I have a sentence, what is that sentence trying to say? Right? That is what semantics is about. Syntax is about how it is said. Right? So where semantics is about the meaning. Right? So where semantics is about the meaning, syntax is more about sentence structure. Right? Syntax is more about sentence structure. So this is the definition of the terms semantics and syntax. Syntax has to do with what is said, right? The meaning of what is written. Syntax is how that something is said, right? So how has that sentence been framed? That is syntax. Right? See, I'll give you a simple example to explain this concept better. Consider two sentences. Statement A says, out of all the students in class, he stood first. Right? Out of all the students in class, he stood first. The second sentence says, he stood first in class. Right? The second sentence is a much shorter sentence. It says, he stood first in class. Right? Please note that both the sentences mean the same thing. Right? Both these sentences mean the same thing. So whether I say out of students in class he stood first or I say he stood first in class, both these sentences mean exactly the same thing. There is no difference in meaning. Right? So what I can say is the sentences are semantically similar. Right? So the sentences are semantically similar. Why am I saying semantically similar? Because semantics is meaning. The meanings of both these sentences is exactly the same. Right? So the sentences are semantically similar. But these sentences are syntax wise different. Right? Why? Because the sentence structures are different. Right? In the first sentence, we have a lot of words. Right? So if you have a look at the first sentence, there are 10 words. In the second sentence, there are only 5 words. So the sentence structure is very different in both the cases. So if the sentence structure is different, the difference is in syntax, but there is absolutely no difference in semantics. Right? There is absolutely no difference in semantics. Right? So this basically just illustrates the concept of what semantics is and what syntax is. Right? In our sessions, right, where we discuss grammar and usage, right, in our sessions, we will focus on both semantics and syntax. Right? So when we solve questions that are based on grammar and usage, right, that is basically language questions, we will focus both on the semantic part of it and we will focus on the syntax part of it. Right? So these are two terms that we'll be using quite often. So please be clear about the difference in definition between these two terms, right? Semantics and syntax. Okay. As today is the first class on grammar, okay? As today is the first class on grammar, we will discuss some very basic concepts. So what are those basic concepts going to be? We will first begin with parts of speech. We will first begin with parts of speech. Right? There are 8 parts of speech. Right? I'll define each one of them. I'll give examples. As I said, I will not get into a lot of technical details today. That I will do next class onwards. Right? But today is just a basic overview of parts of speech. Then we will talk about the concept of sentence structure. Right? Then we will talk about sentence structure in detail. Right? That is how exactly is a sentence formed, what are the various components of a sentence, etc. etc. Right? So we'll discuss sentence structure after parts of speech. And once we are done with sentence structure, we will discuss the concept of phrases and clauses. Right? We will discuss the concept of phrases and clauses. So these are the 3 topics that we will discuss today. Right? Sentence structure, phrases and clauses. Right? This I will discuss more or less in detail, but parts of speech, it's basically going to be an overview. And in between, we will solve a few random questions. And when I say random questions, because those are not based on any theory that we discussed today, but those are basically simple questions on grammar, which will give you an idea of where exactly it is that you stand as of this point in time. So this is the agenda for today's class. Parts of speech, sentence structure, phrases and clauses. A lot of this could be very basic material, right? So a lot of this could be something that you are familiar with, right? But nonetheless, we'll go through it together. This session is going to be heavy on theory, right? But this session is essential because without the basics that we discuss in this session, right, understanding what we discuss in the next few grammar classes could become difficult, right? So please stay till the end, right? What we are discussing is important. So let's begin with the first topic, which is parts of speech. Okay? Parts of speech. There are 8 parts of speech. Right? There are 8 parts of speech. There are certain grammar textbooks that also mention 9 parts of speech or 10 parts of speech, but that basically depends upon the categorization that they have done. And the concepts will remain the same. And the concepts more or less are the same. It just depends upon how the categorization has been done. The way we categorize it, we consider 8 parts of speech. Okay? So let's start with the first one. The first one is nouns. Right? The first one is nouns. Nouns are words used as the names of persons, places, animals, or things. Okay? Wherever you have a doubt, please ask. Okay? Wherever you have a doubt, please ask. So nouns are words used as the names of persons, places, animals, or things. Right? So just as an example, if I say I am Akshay, and if the sentence is I am Akshay, Akshay is the name of a person. Right? Akshay is the name of a person. Right? I'm just giving examples. If I say I live in Pune, Pune is the name of a place. Right? If I say I had a dog, right? Dog is an animal. Right? Dog is an animal. And if I say I threw the jug, right? If I say I threw the jug, jug is a thing. Right? So these are examples of person, place, animal, or thing. Right? Person, place, animal, or thing. So all these underlined words, Akshay, Pune, dog, jug, right? All these underlined words are nouns. Right? Because these are words used as the name of a person, place, animal, or thing. Right? So all these underlined words are nouns. Now, there is one thing that you have to understand, that when we talk of things, right? When we talk of things, the things could be tangible or the things could be intangible. Right? The things could be tangible or the things could be intangible. Right? Tangible or intangible. So for example, when I consider the word jug, right? When I consider the word jug, jug is a tangible thing. Right? Because it is something that maybe can be touched. Right? So jug is something that is tangible. But if I say something like, just have a look at this sentence. Friendship matters to a lot of people. Right? If you have a look at this sentence, friendship matters to a lot of people. If you consider the term friendship, right? If you consider the term friendship, friendship is also a thing, and friendship is also something. Right? So something matters to a lot of people. What is that thing? It is friendship that matters to a lot of people. But friendship is not something that maybe can be touched. Right? So friendship is intangible. Right? Friendship is intangible. So when we say that nouns can refer to things, those things may be tangible or those things may be intangible. Tangible or intangible. So if I consider a word like brotherhood, right? If I consider a word like brotherhood, this is again a thing that is intangible. Right? This is again a thing that is intangible. If I consider a word like desk, desk is a tangible thing. right? But brotherhood is an intangible thing, right? So when we talk of things, they can be tangible or they can be intangible. In next class, right, the agenda for the next grammar class and the one after today's class, it includes the concept of nouns. So there where we discuss nouns in a lot of detail, right? I'll discuss this concept in even more detail, right? The concept of tangible and intangible. Right? But right now, as I said, we are only looking at definitions and certain examples. So right now, let's leave it at this. Right? So this is the first part of speech, right? Nouns. Then let's come to the second part of speech, which is pronouns, right? Pronouns. These are words used instead of nouns, right? These are words used instead of nouns, right? Those are pronouns, words used instead of nouns. So if I say something like, he is coming, then I'm taking very simple sentences, right? Just for conceptual clarity, I'm not taking complicated sentences in the first class. I'm taking some very simple sentences, right? So when I say he is coming, the word he is a pronoun, right? The word he is a pronoun. Why? Because the term he maybe has been used in place of a noun. So maybe instead of saying something like Ravi is coming, instead of Ravi, we are using he, right? So this is a word used instead of a noun. That is what pronouns are, right? Instead of he is coming, if I say somebody is coming, right? If I say somebody is coming, somebody is again a pronoun. Why? Because somebody indirectly refers to a noun, right? If I say this book belongs to him, the pronoun is him, right? The pronoun is him because again the book belongs to some person and that person would have been a noun, but instead of the name of the person we are saying him, right? So him becomes a pronoun, right? So this is the concept of pronouns, words used instead of nouns, right? In the next class, right, that is in the next grammar class, nouns and pronouns are the two major topics that we discuss, right? So the first two parts of speech we will discuss in a lot of detail in our next grammar class, right? Okay. The third part of speech is adjectives, right? The third part of speech is adjectives. These are words used to modify a noun or a pronoun, right? These are words used to modify a noun or a pronoun. This is the technical or the grammatical definition of an adjective, right? Words that are used to modify a noun or a pronoun. So when I say modify a noun or a pronoun, right? Let's see what the term modify refers to, right? Let's please understand what the term modify refers to, right? Or what it could refer to. If I say something like this is an interesting book, right? If I say this is an interesting book, Here the word book is a noun. Why is it a noun? Because it's a thing. Right? And what kind of book is it? It is an interesting book. So interesting becomes an adjective that modifies the noun book. Right? What do I mean by modify? What I mean is it gives me a characteristic or it gives me some additional information about the noun. Right? So this is what I mean by words used to modify a noun. Right? So interesting is a word that is modifying the noun book. So rather than saying this is a book, I'm saying this is an interesting book. So what am I doing? I'm giving or I'm talking about a specific kind of book. It's an interesting book. So this is known as modifying a noun. Right? Modifying a noun. Now, another sentence says he is talented. Right? He is talented. Right? This is the next sentence. He is talented. So talented. What is talented over here in this sentence? Or who is talented? He is talented. So the word talented refers to he. What is he? He is a pronoun. So talented becomes an adjective that modifies a pronoun. Right? Talented becomes an adjective that modifies a pronoun. So this is an example of a word used to modify a pronoun. Right? Word used to modify a pronoun. Right? So this is an example of that. In both the cases, right? In both these cases, the adjective is about a quality, characteristic, or a description. Right? Quality, characteristic, or description. Right? So what kind of book? Interesting book. So that's a quality or a characteristic. He is talented. Right? I'm kind of trying to describe that person. Right? Or giving a characteristic or a quality of that person. So a lot of adjectives that you come across, a lot of those adjectives will be qualities, characteristics, or descriptions. However, these are not the only types of adjectives. Right? So what I'm saying is an adjective can be about a lot of other things also. Right? For example, if I say this is his idea, right? If I say this is his idea, right? Idea is a noun. Whose idea? His idea. So his modifies the noun idea. So his is also an adjective. Right? In fact, in this sentence, you can call his an adjective or a pronoun, right? Either way is correct. Right? Either way is correct. So his becomes an adjective. And in this case, what is the adjective showing? The adjective is showing possession. That is, the idea belongs to him. He possesses or has possessed the idea. So this is an example where the adjective is something else other than a quality, characteristic, or description. Right? So in this case, it is possession. Right? If I say, I want that mug, right? I want that mug, T-H-A-T, right? I want that mug. So which mug? That mug. So that is in modifying the noun mug, right? That is again modifying the noun mug. So that also becomes an adjective. And what kind of adjective is this? This is an adjective that shows demonstration. This is an adjective that demonstrates, right? Which mug? That mug. Right? So this is known as a demonstrative adjective. Right? So that is also an adjective. If I say he has 10 pens, right? If I say he has 10 pens, the noun here is pens. How many pens? 10 pens. Right? How many pens? 10 pens. So in this case, the adjective is a number. Right? The adjective is a number, or let me call it a quantity. Right? So basically what I'm trying to show you over here is that an adjective can have a lot of functions. It does not necessarily have to be a description or a quality. It can even show possession, demonstration, number, quantity, and there are even other kinds of adjectives, right, which we will discuss when we discuss adjectives in detail. But essentially, for now, an adjective is any word that modifies a noun or a pronoun, right? That modifies a noun or a pronoun. So any such word is an adjective. I hope all of you are clear about this. Okay. Now, so we have seen three parts of speech: nouns, pronouns, and adjectives. Okay. Now let's come to the fourth one, which is verbs. Okay. Now let's come to the fourth one, which is verbs. Verbs are words that denote an action or a state of being. Okay? Words that denote an action or a state of being. Those words are known as verbs. Right? So essentially, a verb can either denote an action or it can denote a state of being. Right? So very broadly speaking, verbs are of two kinds. Either an action word or a word that shows us of being, right? Very broadly speaking. For example, right? For example, if I say he runs fast, right? Again, I take simple sentences because I just want to illustrate the concept. Right? If I say he runs fast, the verb is runs. Right? The verb is runs. And this verb denotes an action. Right? This verb denotes an action. What is the action? The action is of running. Running is an action. So he runs fast. Runs is the verb. Right? So this is an action. Instead of saying he runs fast, if I say he is fast, right? If I say he is fast, you will notice that in this case, there is no action anywhere, right? It is just a quality, right? It is just a quality. But the word is also called a verb, right? And this is what I mean by a state of being. Right? This is what I mean by a state of being. Right? So it is basically a state of existence. Right? So when I say he is fast, is also a verb. It is known as a verb of a state of being. Right? So there are two kinds of verbs, right? Very broadly speaking. Either a verb can be an action word or it can show a state of being. Verbs that denote an action, these verbs are known as primary or main verbs. Right? So word that denotes an action is known as a primary or a main verb. A verb that denotes a state of being is known as an auxiliary or helping verb. Right? So whenever you have a word that denotes a state of being, that verb is known as auxiliary or helping verb. Auxiliary or helping verb. In the first sentence, we have a primary or a main verb. In the second sentence, we have an auxiliary or a helping verb. In some sentences, right? In some sentences, you can have both together. So if the sentence is, he is running fast, Right? If this is the sentence, he is running fast. In this sentence, you have a state of being word, right, which is, and you have an action verb, right? So you have a helping verb and you have a primary verb over here, right? And in this sentence, if you have to identify what the verb is, please note the verb is running. This is the verb, right? Is running. This is the verb, right? So in those sentences where you have both kinds of verbs, right, you have to include both of them. In this sentence, if you ask me to identify verb, the verb is running. Right? This is the verb is running. Right? So verbs will always include auxiliary and helping verbs also. Right? Always. So this is what verbs are about. From an exam perspective, right? From an MBA entrance exam perspective, verbs is maybe the most important part of speech. Right? Verbs is maybe the most important part of speech, which is why in our sessions, we will devote a lot of time to verbs, right? In our grammar sessions, right? We will devote a lot of time to the concept of verbs, right? Because you can have a lot of question types that are based on the concept of verbs, right? You can have a lot of question types. Okay. The next part of speech is adverbs, right? The next part of speech is adverbs, right? The next part of speech. These are words that modify a verb, another adverb, an adjective, or a group of words, right? Words that modify a verb, another adverb, an adjective, or a group of words, right? That is what an adverb is. Please note that as per the definition, right? The definition, there are 4 functions of an adverb. The first function is that it can modify a verb. The second function is that it can modify another adverb. The third function is that it can modify an adjective. And the fourth function is that it can modify a group of words. Right? So an adverb has 4 functions. Right? An adverb has 4 functions. Now what we'll do is one by one. Right? One by one, let's have a look at these 4 functions. Right? If you have a doubt, please ask, right? Okay. The sentence says he runs fast. Right? If I have a sentence that says he runs fast, runs is the action, so runs is the verb. Right? Runs is the verb. How does he run? Right? How does he run? He runs fast. So fast is modifying the verb runs. So fast becomes an adverb. Right? Fast becomes an adverb. Why is it an adverb? Because it adds, right? This AD refers to adds. It adds something to the meaning of a verb in this case. Right? So how does he run? He runs fast. So fast is a quality of the verb. That is what I mean by modifying a verb. Right? That is what I mean by modifying a verb. This is an adverb that performs the first function. Right? this is an adverb that performs the first function. Now, let me modify the sentence slightly and say he runs very fast. Right? Just understand the sentence. He runs very fast. The verb is still runs. And how does he run? He runs fast. So fast modifies the verb. So fast is an adverb. Right? We have just discussed it. It is an adverb of the first kind. Right? It is an adverb of the first kind. Now, if I ask myself, how fast does he run? Right? If I ask myself, how fast does he run? The answer is he runs very fast. So what is happening is the word very is a quality of the word fast. How fast? Very fast. So very also becomes an adverb. And in this case, what it is doing is it's performing the second function. Right? What is the second function? It is modifying another adverb. So in this sentence, he runs very fast. There are two adverbs. Word fast is performing the first function of modifying a verb, and the word very is performing the second function of modifying an adverb. Right? So a sentence can have a number of adverbs, right, which may perform different functions. Right? Which may perform different functions. Right? So this is the second function of an adverb, right, where it modifies where it modifies another adverb. Now, let's look at third function. Right? Let's look at the third function. Third function is where it modifies an adjective. Right? Let's look at this function. Look at this sentence. If I say he is extremely talented, right? If I say he is extremely talented, what is talented? Talented is an adjective. Right? I guess all of you would agree talented is an adjective. Why? Because it's a quality. Right? Talented is an adjective. How talented is he? Right? He is extremely talented. So what is happening is this word extremely is modifying the word talented. So extremely is also an adverb which performs the third function of modifying an adjective. Right? It modifies an adjective. Right? It modifies an adjective. So this is the third function of adverb. Right? Third function. Now, let's have a look at the last case. If I say they won the match, right? If I say they won the match, now this sentence has 4 words, right? This sentence has 4 words, right? And this sentence has got a particular meaning, right? They won the match. Generally, when we consider a sentence that has winning in it, we consider it to be a positive sentence, right? So most likely this is a positive sentence, right? Which says they won the match. But if I add the word unfortunately in the beginning, right? So if I say unfortunately they won the match, in that case, will you agree that because of the word unfortunately, the sentence has now become a negative sentence, right? So what has happened is the word unfortunately, right? This word unfortunately has modified the entire group of words, right? So what is unfortunate? They won the match. That is unfortunate. So unfortunately has modified the entire group of words. Unfortunately is also an adverb now which is performing the fourth function. What was the fourth function? It modifies a group of words, right? It modifies a group of words, right? So this is the fourth function of an adverb. Right? This is the fourth function of an adverb, that it modifies a group of words. Right? It modifies a group of words. So there are four functions of an adverb. Right? I hope all of you are clear about this. Right? I hope all of you are clear about this. Okay. Okay. Now let's move on to the next part of speech, which is prepositions. Okay? Which is prepositions. Prepositions are words used to show the relationship of a noun or its substitute. Just make a note of this definition. Prepositions are words used to show the relationship of a noun or its substitute to another noun, an adjective, or a verb. Right? Please make a note of the definition. Words used to show the relationship of a noun and its substitute to another noun, adjective, or a verb. So fundamentally, three functions. Right? It shows the relationship of a noun to another noun, an adjective, or an adverb. Right? Please note that in grammar, right? I discuss this in the next class also, but please note that in grammar, what applies to a noun generally applies to a pronoun also. Right? So the first function where I say to another noun, right? It could be a pronoun also. Right? Adjective or a verb. Right? Adjective or a verb. So look at this sentence. Ravi is in the class. Right? Ravi is in the class. What is the preposition in? Right? What is the preposition? The preposition is in. Right? Ravi is in the class. What is the word in doing? In is showing me the relationship between Ravi and class. Where is Ravi? Ravi is in the class. Right? So this is what I mean by the relationship of a noun to another noun. Right? So this is the preposition that performs the first function. Right? This is a preposition that performs the first function. Right? It shows the relation of a noun. The noun here is class. Right? With reference to another noun, which is Ravi. Right? So this is the first function. Instead of Ravi is in the class, I could have also said he is in the class. Right? Same thing. This is what I meant. That what applies to a noun can also apply to a pronoun. Right? So same thing. Now, if I say he is fond of coffee. Right? If I say he is fond of coffee, the word coffee is a noun. The word fond is an adjective. The word of is a preposition. And what is this preposition doing? It is showing relation of a noun to an adjective, right? This is the second function of a preposition, right? This is the second function of a preposition. He jumped over it, right? He jumped over it. What is the preposition in this sentence? Jumped. I'm sorry, over. Right? The preposition is over. And if you analyze the words, the word it is a pronoun, right? The word it is a pronoun, so the word it is a noun substitute. And that is why I said a noun or its substitute. And so it's a noun substitute, it's a pronoun. And what is jumped? Jumped is an action. So it is a verb. So in this sentence, the word over shows a relation between a noun substitute and a verb. This is the third function. This is the third function. Right? So these are the three primary functions of a preposition. Right? These are the three primary purposes of a preposition. And the three primary functions of a preposition. Right? Now, please understand certain aspects here. Right? Please understand certain aspects here. The first is, in most of the cases, right, a preposition comes before a noun or its substitute. Right? Please make a note of these concepts. These are important concepts. Right? These are important concepts. In most of the cases, a preposition comes before a noun or its substitute, which you can see is happening in all these three examples. In the first example, the word in is coming before class. In the second example, off is coming before coffee. In the third example, over is coming before it. Okay? So in most of the cases, a preposition comes before noun or its substitute. In fact, I don't know how many of you have noticed it this way, but if you look at the spelling of preposition, right, just have a look at the spelling of preposition, you will notice that it actually is preposition. Right? It is actually a combination. Right? It's pre plus position. What does pre mean? Pre means before. Right? Pre means before. So a preposition is something that comes before in position as compared to a noun. Right? In fact, a lot of people pronounce this word as preposition, right? That's acceptable. Right? Preposition. Right? Because essentially that is how the word is formed. Right? So technically it's not preposition, it's preposition, right? The formation of the word. And so in most of the cases, a preposition comes before a noun or its substitute. However, as with almost everything in English, right? However, as with almost everything in English, there are a few exceptions. Right? However, as with everything in English, there are a few exceptions. Right? So, for example, right? For example, look at the sentence. This is the book that I was talking about. Right? This is the book that I was talking about. If you have a look at the word about is the preposition. Here it has not come before a noun. Why? Because here it has come at the end of a sentence. Right? So in some cases, there are exceptions, and those exceptions are generally when it comes at the end of a sentence. Right? So when I say this is the book that I was talking about, the preposition has come at the end, so there is nothing after it. Another example could be something like, what is this about? Okay. Again, what is happening is the preposition is coming at the end of interrogative sentence, right? It's a question. Right? A question is an interrogative statement, right? So it's coming at the end of a sentence again. Right? So in that case, these are exceptions. But otherwise, in most of the cases, a preposition which means preposition, it comes before a noun or its substitute. That is what happens. Right? That is what happens. So this is the concept of prepositions. Right? This is the concept of prepositions. Right? Now what we'll do is, let's do a few sample questions on prepositions. Right? A few sample questions on prepositions. I haven't discussed a lot of technical details of prepositions, which I will do later, right? In one of the later classes, maybe. Right? But for now, let's do a few sample questions on prepositions. Just a minute, just give me a minute. I'll share the sheet with all of you. Right? Just give me a minute. Okay, I've shared the sheet on the WhatsApp group. Right? I've shared the sheet on the WhatsApp group. I'll open it here also. Right? I'll open it on the screen also. Right? I'll open it on the screen also. So if we have a look at the sheet, right, the first part, as always, is the test drive, which we will discuss at a later point in time. And that is the first part. After the first part, we have the different parts of speech. Right? So the same concept I am discussing in a lot of detail. Right? These questions I'll come later. These questions I will discuss later. Right now, what I wanted to do, right now, what I wanted to do is, I wanted to solve questions 21 to 25. Right? We'll go one by one. I'm scared of flying, so I traveled to Delhi dash bus. What preposition comes here? What preposition comes here? So I traveled to Delhi dash bus. Anyone? Just type in the chat box. I'm scared of flying, so I traveled to Delhi dash bus. Correct. Parul, correct. This is by bus. Vaishnavi, correct. Right? I'm scared of flying, so I traveled to Delhi by bus. Right? Next one. His birthday is dash the 15th of August. His birthday is on the 15th of August. Correct, Vaishnavi, Parul. Right? I stay dash my friends whenever I go to Chennai. What would this be? I stay with my friends. Correct. I stay with my friends. Let's go out in the afternoon, not at night. Okay? Let's go out in the afternoon, not at night. Right? So two blanks, two prepositions over here. Similarly, if you have a look at the last sentence here, the post office is on the right. Right? If you want, you can also use the word to. Right? TO is also fine. The post office is to the right. Right? But on the right is also correct. Right? So these are some basic questions on prepositions. Right? These are some basic questions on prepositions. Now, there is something that I want to illustrate in these questions. Right? That is, there was a reason behind doing these questions. Right? Just make a note here, and this is a very important concept. Right? What comes after a preposition. Okay? When I say after, not necessarily immediately afterwards, right? But somewhere after, right? What comes after a preposition has to be a noun or its substitute. Okay? Please make a note of this concept. I will use this concept in a lot of classes, right? In a lot of grammar classes, I'll use this concept. Right? What comes after a preposition, right? When I say after, not necessarily after, but somewhere after, right? Has to be a noun or its substitute, right? Has to be a noun substitute, right? Either it can be a regular noun or it can be its substitute. Right? Either a regular noun or it can be its substitute. Okay? So let's have a look at the questions that we have just seen. Okay? Let's have a look at the questions that we have just seen. This was the first question, right? I'm scared of flying, so I travel to Delhi by bus. Okay? This was the preposition. So bus is a noun, right? So bus is a noun, right? If you have a look at the same sentence, right? If you have a look at the same sentence, to is also a preposition, right? To is also a preposition. So Delhi is a noun, right? Delhi is a noun, right? Why? Because it's come after a preposition, right? So Delhi is a noun. Now, in this same sentence, there's something interesting I want you to notice. The first part says, I am scared of flying. I'm sorry, the word of is also a preposition. Right? The word of is also a preposition. But what is coming after the word of? The word flying is coming. Right? What is coming after the word of? The word flying is coming. Now, technically, flying is a verb, right? Why? Because flying is an action. Right? Technically, flying is a verb. Why? Because flying is an action. But in this sentence, right? And just understand this well. In this sentence, by virtue of the fact that it has come after a preposition, right? I repeat, by virtue of the fact that it has come after a preposition, the word flying becomes a noun substitute. So basically, in this sentence, the word flying performs the function of a noun. Okay? Please have this very clear. Okay? Please have this very clear. In this sentence, the word flying does not perform the function of a verb. It performs the function of a noun. And why am I saying that? By virtue of it coming after a preposition. Right? That is why I'm saying this. Right? That is why I'm saying this. Right? So it's a noun substitute. Even if I look at some other sentence, look at this sentence, for example. The post office is on the right. Right? The post office is on the right. What is the word on? On is a preposition, right? So the word right, this performs the function of a noun. In some other sentence, the word right can be some other part of speech. It can even be an adjective in some other sentence. Right? But in this sentence, the word right is a noun. And why am I calling it a noun? Because it's come after a preposition. Right? It's come after a preposition. So this is something important that you'll need to keep in mind. Right? That what comes after a preposition has to be a noun or its substitute. Right? Even in the next class, when we do nouns and pronouns, right, I will refer to this concept. Right? But this is one of the very important concepts of grammar, right? One of the most important concepts of grammar. Right? So please remember this. Okay, so we have seen prepositions. We have seen prepositions. Next part of speech is conjunctions. Right? Next part of speech is conjunctions. What are conjunctions? Conjunctions are words used to join two words or two groups of words. Right? Just note this down. Words used to join two words or two groups of words. That is what a conjunction is. Right? That is what a conjunction is. So two major functions. It can either join two words. This is the first function, or it can join two groups of words. This is the second function. Right? This is the second function. So, for example, if I say Ravi and Vivek are coming, right? Ravi and Vivek are coming. What is the conjunction? The conjunction is the word and. And what is the word and doing? It is joining two words. So this is a conjunction that is performing the first function. What is the first function? Joining two words. Which two words is it joining? Ravi and Vivek. Right? So this is performing the first function. Now, look at the next sentence. He studied a lot, but he did not clear the exam. Okay? He studied a lot, but he did not clear the exam. What is the conjunction? Conjunction is the word but. Right? Conjunction is the word but. What is the word but joining? He studied a lot. He did not clear the exam. So the word but is joining two groups of words. This is the second function. Right? This is the second function. Right? This is the second function. Right? This is the second function. Conjunctions are nothing but joining words. Right? They can join two words or they can join two groups of words. Right? That is conjunctions. Right? That is conjunctions. Now, here make a note. Right? Here make a note. Conjunctions are joining words, but not all joining words are conjunctions. Okay? Just make a note of this. Conjunctions are joining words, but not all joining words are conjunctions. Right? So basically what I'm saying is some other parts of speech may also perform the function of joining. Right? This is what I'm saying. Right? This is what I'm saying. Right? Just keep this in mind that yes, conjunctions are joining words, but not all joining words are conjunctions. Right? I'll give you an example. Right? I'll give you an example. If I say he is a friend, I met him yesterday. Right? These are two sentences. These are two sentences. He is a friend. I met him yesterday. Right? These are two sentences. If I join these two sentences, what does it become? He is the friend whom I met yesterday. Right? He is the friend whom I met yesterday. Right? So this becomes the joint sentence. And here if I ask myself, which is the joining word? Right? Here if I ask myself, which is the joining word? The joining word is whom. Right? The joining word is whom. Right? Because it is the word whom which has joined these two sentences. But please note, in fact, we will discuss this concept in detail in the next class also. Please note that this word whom, this is not a conjunction. Right? This word whom is not a conjunction. Can any one of you tell me what part of speech the word whom is? WHOM? Any one of you? What part of speech is the word whom? It is not a conjunction. That is, in spite of joining, it is not a conjunction. Parul, very good. The word whom is a pronoun. Right? The word whom is a pronoun. Why is it a pronoun? Because the word whom has replaced the word him. Right? And him was a pronoun. Right? So what replaces a pronoun is a pronoun. Right? So the word whom is a pronoun. Right? So what I'm trying to show here is some other part of speech can also perform the function of joining. Right? So not all joining words are conjunctions. Right? This is what I wanted to illustrate. Okay. So this is about conjunctions. Now, coming to the last part of speech. Right? Coming to the last part of speech. We have discussed 7 parts of speech. Now talk about the 8th part of speech, which is interjections. Right? The 8th part of speech is interjections. These are words used to express a sudden emotion. Right? These are words used to express a sudden emotion. Right? In fact, just make a note here. Interjections can be words or they can even be terms. Right? They can even be terms. Right? What I mean by terms is a group of words. Right? So an interjection does not necessarily have to be a single word. It can be a group of words also. Right? So for example, if I consider the word hurrah, right? If I consider the word hurrah, right? Hurrah is something that is indicative of victory. Right? So what is the emotion involved here? The emotion is maybe that of being victorious. Right? So hurrah is an interjection. Right? Hurrah is an interjection. If I consider the term alas, right? What is alas indicative of? It is generally indicative of disappointment. Right? Disappointment. So this again is an interjection. Why? Because it expresses an emotion. Right? What is the emotion? The emotion here is maybe that of disappointment. Right? If I say something like, oh yes, right? Oh yes, this may be shows happiness or excitement. Right? Happiness or excitement. This is again an interjection. Right? But if you have a look at the last case, it is not a single word. This is what I meant by a term. Right? This is what I meant by a term. Right? It is a group of words. Right? So, oh yes is also an interjection. Right? It is also an interjection. Oh yes. Right? So this is what an interjection is. From an exam perspective, interjections are not very important. Right? From an exam perspective, right? Interjections are not very important. But one thing that you need to keep in mind with reference to interjections is that an interjection is followed by an exclamation mark. Okay? An interjection is followed by an exclamation mark, right? Which I did in all the three cases. Right? So it's hurrah exclamation, alas exclamation, oh yes exclamation mark. Right? So an interjection is followed by an exclamation mark. Right? So this is what an interjection is. Right? This is the eighth and final part of speech. Right? This is the eighth and final part of speech. Right? So this is about the concept of parts of speech. Right? This is about parts of speech. Now, what I will do is, let me give you an overview of how we will proceed with our grammar sessions. Right? How we will proceed with our grammar sessions. Nouns and pronouns. Right? What I will first do, let me list down the parts of speech that we have discussed. Nouns, pronouns, adjectives, verbs, adverbs, prepositions, conjunctions, interjections. And 8 parts of speech. And 8 parts of speech. Nouns and pronouns we will discuss in a lot of detail in our next grammar session. Right? So our next grammar session is going to be about nouns and pronouns. Right? So what are the different kinds of nouns, what functions they perform, what are the different kinds of pronouns, when to use a pronoun and what way in a particular sentence. All of that we discuss in our next session. Right? So nouns and pronouns, we discuss them directly in a lot of detail in our next session. Okay. Make a note here, adjectives and adverbs. Right? Adjectives and adverbs. These two concepts we will discuss in the session when we discuss modifiers. Right? These two we will discuss in the session when we discuss modifiers. If you look back at the definition of both adjectives and adverbs, right? Just look back at the definition of both adjectives and adverbs. Right? The definition has the term modify in it. Right? This is adverbs. Right? If you look at adjectives, this again has modify in it. Right? So because adjectives and adverbs both perform the function of modifying, right? They are also known as modifiers. Right? So adjectives and adverbs we will discuss in detail when we discuss modifiers. Verbs is a very important topic. As I said, maybe the most important one in grammar, which we will discuss in a lot of detail, right? When we do tenses, subject verb agreement, right? Tenses, subject verb agreement, and the concept of non-finite verbs. Right? And the concept of non-finite verbs. So verbs we will discuss in a lot of detail. And we'll discuss tenses, subject verb agreement, and non-finite verbs. Prepositions will be taken up separately. And prepositions we will discuss in detail separately. Okay? So we'll take that topic separately, prepositions. Conjunctions is something that is very relevant or very important from the perspective of verbal logic. Okay? From the perspective of verbal logic. So when we do verbal logic, right? When we do a particular concept of verbal logic, I will discuss conjunctions in a lot of detail there. Right? What the different kinds of conjunctions are, what functions they perform, etc., etc. Right? So when we do verbal logic, I'll get into conjunctions in detail there. Right? And interjections, as I said, are not very important from an exam perspective, but still we'll do a few questions on interjections as well later, right? Maybe. So this is how we will go about our sessions. Nouns and pronouns next, right? Then we discuss tenses, subject verb agreement, non-finite verbs, modifiers, prepositions, etc. Right? So that is how we go about our grammar sessions. Right? The sequence could vary, right? But these are some of the major topics that we will discuss in our grammar classes. Now, apart from these 8 parts of speech, right? Apart from these 8 parts of speech, there are certain textbooks, right? There are certain textbooks that mention 2 other parts of speech, right? 2 other parts of speech: determiners and articles. Right? Determiners and articles. Right? There are quite a few grammar textbooks that mention these 2 as separate parts of speech. Right? Why I have not considered determiners and articles as separate parts of speech is because, right? Is because determiners is technically a subset of adjectives. Right? Determiners is technically a subset of adjectives, and that is why I have not considered it separately. Right? So when we discuss adjectives, right, we talk of determiners also. And why articles has not been mentioned separately is because, again, technically articles is a subset of determiners. Right? So indirectly articles also becomes a subset of adjectives. Right? Indirectly. So these 2 are actually just concepts of adjectives. Okay? That is why I did not mention these as separate parts of speech. Right? Because determiners and articles are eventually adjectives. Right? They're eventually adjectives. Determiners and articles. What we'll do is, today, that we are discussing the basics of parts of speech, let us also talk about the basics of articles. Right? Let us also talk about the basics of articles. And because anyways we are talking about the basics, so let's talk about basics of articles also. Right? As I said, again, it's only basics. I'm not getting into details in today's session because it's just an introductory session. Right? It's just an introductory session. Okay, before I come to articles, now that we have discussed parts of speech, let's do a few questions, right? Simple questions. Right? Simple questions. Identify the underlined part of speech. Type your answer in the chat box. Identify the underlined part of speech. The word rattle. What part of speech is rattle? Parul, correct. Rattle is a verb. Good. Right? Rattle is a verb. Why? Because it is an action. Right? It's an action. I want to extend the credit limit on the card. The word limit. What part of speech? The word limit. What part of speech? Please note, limit is a noun. Right? Please note, limit is a noun. In the next class, when we do nouns in detail, I will discuss that. Something that answers the question what. Right? In grammar, something that answers the question what is a noun. Right? So here, if I ask myself, what do I want to extend? Right? What do I want to extend? I want to extend the credit limit. So limit answers the question what. So limit becomes a noun. Right? The lace veil is so light that it seems to float. The word light. What part of speech? What part of speech? The word light. L-I-G-H-T. What part of speech? Anyone? Light is an adjective. Correct, Parul. Light is an adjective. Why? Because light is a quality. What is it a quality of? The lace veil. Right? It's a quality of the lace veil. Right? Lace veil is a noun. Right? So it's modifying a noun, so it becomes an adjective. One has to believe in oneself. The word oneself. What part of speech? Very good. Pronoun. Pronoun. Right? And let's do one last question. The weather has turned very cold. The word very. What part of speech? Very good, Parul. This is an adverb. Right? This is an adverb. Right? This is an adverb. Why is it an adverb? Because cold is an adjective. Right? Cold is an adjective. So how cold? Very cold. So that becomes an adverb. Okay? That becomes an adverb. Okay. Now, coming back to the concept that we were discussing, right? Articles. These three words, a, and the, right? These three words are known as articles. Right? These three words are known as articles. A, and the. Right? There are only three articles, a, and the. Make a note, a and an are known as indefinite articles. Right? A and an are known as indefinite articles. The word the is known as the definite article. Right? A and an are known as indefinite articles. The word the is known as the definite article. So when I say that a and an are indefinite articles, these generally refer to something that is not specific. Whereas the word the, right? Whereas the word the refers to something that is specific. Right? So because it refers to specific, we call it the definite article. Right? So for example, right? For example, compare these two sentences. After a long day, a cup of coffee tastes good. Right? After a long day, a cup of coffee tastes good. And another sentence says, after the long day, the cup of coffee tasted good. Right? After the long day, the cup of coffee tasted good. In the first case, in both the places, I'm using the word a. In the second sentence, in both the places, I'm using the word the. Right? So in the first sentence where it says after a long day, right? This could refer to any long day. Right? This can refer to any long day. So the first sentence is a general sentence that after any long day, a cup of coffee tastes good. Right? So I'm not specific about a long day. Right? But in the second sentence where it says after the long day, right? Where it says after the long day, this is a specific long day. Right? So maybe it was yesterday, day before yesterday, or a week or 2 weeks back. But in this case, I'm talking about a specific long day. Right? And here where I say, when I say the cup of coffee tasted good, right? Here it talks about the specific cup of coffee that was consumed. Right? It talks about the specific cup of coffee that was consumed. Right? In the first case, we are not specific. That's why we are using indefinite articles. In the second case, we are being very specific. That is why we are using the definite article. Right? So this is the fundamental difference between definite articles and indefinite articles. Right? This is the fundamental difference. Now, as I said, we are only discussing the basics of articles today. Right? We are discussing only the basics of articles today. So to that extent, let's talk about the difference between a and an. Right? The difference between a and an. Both of these are indefinite articles. Right? Both of these are indefinite articles. A is used before a word starting with a consonant sound. Right? A is used before a word starting with a consonant sound. Whereas an is used before a word starting with a vowel sound. Right? An is used before a word starting with a vowel sound. Please note, in both the cases, what is important is the sound of the word. Right? What is important is the sound of the word. Right? So when I say vowel sound, I'm talking about A, E, I, O, U. Right? The sound of these five letters. Right? So that is the fundamental difference between a and an. Right? That's the fundamental difference between a and an. Now, just have a look at some of these examples. Right? These examples are important. If I talk about, let's say, bus. So here it will be a bus. Why? Because bus starts with a b sound. B is a consonant sound. Right? Bus starts with a b sound. B is a consonant sound. Right? But if the word is elephant, right? If the word is elephant, it will become an elephant. Right? It will become an elephant. Why? Because elephant begins with a vowel sound, which is E. Right? Which is E, elephant. Right? It begins with a vowel sound. So this is what I mean by the difference between a and an. These were simple enough examples. Why? I'm sorry, these were simple examples. Why? Because the first letter was also the first sound of the word. In some cases, the first letter may or may not be the sound with which the word starts. So for example, if I talk about honest person, right? If I talk about honest person, right? In this case, the answer will be correct, Parul. The answer will be an honest person. Right? It will be an honest person because the word honest, right, begins with the O sound. The H is not pronounced. Right? The H is not pronounced. Right? It begins with an O sound. Right? So it is an honest person. Similarly, if the word is university, right? If the word is university, even though it starts with a U is a vowel, but the sound, right? The sound is not of U, right? So correct. This will be a university, right? Why a university? Because the sound is basically a Y sound, right? It is university, right? So it is a Y sound, right? That is why we say a university. This same concept will apply to acronyms also. So for example, I want to do dash MBA. If this is the sentence, I want to do dash MBA. What does this become? This becomes an MBA, correct? Right? This becomes an MBA. Why? Because when we pronounce the term MBA, right, it gets pronounced as EM. So the sound is of A, right? The sound is of A, right? MBA. That is why we say I want to do an MBA, right? So this is the fundamental difference between the usage of a and an. Right? The fundamental difference between the usage of a and an. Now, one concept that I would like to mention here, right? One concept that I would like to mention here is that when we talk of English, right? English in general, not only articles, but when we talk of English, there are two common standards of English that are used. Right? There are two common standards of English that are used. One is British English and the other is American English. Right? One is British English, the other is American English. Right? Now, even though most of the concepts are similar in both British English and American English, there are certain concepts, right? There are certain isolated concepts maybe where there is a difference in how the Americans use it and how the British use it. For example, when it comes to articles, right? Especially when it comes to the difference between a and an, right? When it comes to the difference between a and an, certain American users, I'll give you an example, right? What certain American users do. Right? I'll give you an example. If I consider the term historical novel, right? If I consider the term historical novel, right? Ideally, if I see how this word is pronounced, it is historical, right? The H is pronounced, right? The H is pronounced, right? So ideally, if I have to use an article, it should be a historical novel, right? Why? Because the H is pronounced, her is not a vowel sound, so we use the word a, right? But there are certain users, right? In fact, if you read novels, right, you'll come across novels, especially some of those that have been written by American authors, where they will say an historical novel, right? Because there are a few people who do not pronounce the H, right? So for them, the word is not historical, the word is historical, right? The word is historical, right? So to that extent, they use the word an, right? So yes, with reference to certain words, right, there are variations, that is, there are exceptions, right, with reference to certain words when it comes to the difference between a and an, right? But otherwise, the difference is clear cut, right? It all depends upon the sound. So even in this example, right, even in this example, ideally, if I have to make a choice between a and an, right, I'll go with the word a, because generally when we pronounce the word historical, the H is pronounced, so that's a consonant sound, so we go with the word a, right? But yes, while reading novels, right, you might come across a sentence that says an historical novel, right? Which is because some people do not pronounce the H in the beginning, right? Okay, let's do some questions here, right? Let's do some questions here. The questions would be basic questions, right? The questions would be basic questions. As and when, as and where required, if there are certain concepts involved, right? If there are certain concepts involved, I'll mention what those concepts are as well, right? But as I said, today we are just doing questions for the purpose of self-analysis, right? We will discuss these concepts in detail separately, right? We will discuss in detail these concepts separately, right? So the first question over here, question 6, I have dash pair of shoes, right? Correct. I have a pair of shoes. right? I have a pair of shoes. While doing these questions, right? While doing these questions, you have to choose amongst the word a and the, or if you think that there is no article required, you can even go for no article. In some textbooks, this is known as the concept of zero article. Right? This is known as the concept of zero article. But yes, in this example, I have dash pair of shoes. We require the word a. Right? We require the word a. When we discuss, right? When we discuss articles in detail, right? When we discuss articles in detail, we will discuss a concept that says that a singular countable noun, right? I repeat, a singular countable noun requires an article, right? So in this sentence, I have dash pair of shoes, right? The noun technically is pair, right? Pair is a singular countable noun. So an article is required, right? An article is required, right? A and an are used with singular nouns, right? Yes, there may be exceptions as with everything in English, right? But in this case, the word a is correct. Next one, Mary plays dash guitar very well. A and the or no article, right? Those are the four options. Just make a note here. The answer is the. Here, answer is the. Mary plays the guitar very well. Just make a note of the concept. Again, as I said, I'll be discussing all of this in a lot of just that in the context of playing a musical instrument, right? When the context is of playing a musical instrument, the word the is used before the name of the instrument, right? Please note that in the context of playing a musical instrument, the word the is used before the name of the instrument, right? When the context is of playing a musical instrument. So if the sentence was something like, right? If the sentence was something like, Mary has dash guitar, right? Mary has dash guitar. Here I can use the word a also. Why? Because here the context is not of playing the instrument. Whereas in the question that was asked, the context was of playing the instrument. So in the context of playing a musical instrument, the word the is used. Right? The word the is used. And this is one of the important concepts of articles. This is one concept that has been tested quite a few times in different exams. Right? So please be careful whenever the name of a musical instrument is mentioned. Right? Okay. Dash love is dash beautiful emotion. Here it will be no article in the first case, and here it will be a beautiful emotion. Right? Love is a beautiful emotion. That is what it is in this sentence. My sister doesn't eat dash chicken. What is the usage in this case? A and the or no article. A and the or no article. Very good. It is no article. Right? It is no article. My sister doesn't eat chicken. Right? There is no article. We don't require a, an, or the over here. Right? There is no article that is required. Again, when we discuss articles in detail, we will discuss a concept that says that when you have a sentence that shows a regular or a habitual action, right? Something that shows a regular, habitual, or repetitive action, articles are generally not used. So if you consider the sentence, my sister doesn't eat chicken, that essentially is a habit, right? That essentially is a habit, right? So in such cases, articles are not used, right? Generally not used. If it's a habit or a repetitive or a regular action, right? So not in this case. I was in dash Italian restaurant. It serves delicious food. Okay, I'm sorry, my voice was breaking. I was in dash Italian restaurant. It serves delicious food. And the or no article. Correct. I was in an Italian restaurant. It serves delicious food. Why have we used the word an over here? Because it begins with a vowel sound. Right? It begins with a vowel sound. Right? So I was in an Italian restaurant. It serves delicious food. He will be dash engineer in dash years time. Now this is a good question. He will be dash engineer in dash years time. Very good. He will be an engineer in a year's time. Right? He will be an engineer in a year's time. Right? Why an? Because engineer. This is a vowel sound, right? It is a. Right? That's a vowel sound. The word year. Right? This is important. Right? It begins with the word y. Right? And even while pronunciation, it is year. Right? So in a year's time. Right? If it was the word year, it would have been an year, right? But with YEAR, it is a, right? In a year's time. Okay, the next one. He works in dash University of Repute. Correct. A University of Repute. Right? He works in a University of Repute. Why a University of Repute? Because the sound is a Y sound. Right? The sound is essentially a Y sound. Right? So he works in a University of Repute. Varanasi is on dash banks of dash Ganga. Okay. In this case, just make a note. Varanasi is on the banks of the Ganga. Right? Just make a note of this. I'll explain what the concept is. Right? I'll explain what the concept is. See, Varanasi is on the banks. Right? This is simple enough. Right? Here, there shouldn't be a lot of doubt or confusion. Varanasi is on the banks. Now, the doubt could be about whether to use an article before Ganga or not. Now, generally what is said is, right? Generally what is said is that when you have a proper noun does not take an article, right? Proper nouns do not take articles, right? So for example, when I say I live in Pune, I cannot say I live in the Pune. Why? Because Pune is a proper noun. However, there are exceptions to this rule, right? There are exceptions to the rule that proper nouns don't take articles. And one of the exceptions, right? One of the exceptions is that when you talk of rivers, mountain ranges, right? Rivers, mountain ranges, right? Or sometimes even water bodies, the word the is used. Right? This is an exception to the rule that says that proper nouns do not take an article. Right? This is an exception, right, to the rule that says proper nouns don't take an article. Right? So here, because Ganga is the name of a river, right, we use the word the. Right? We use the word the. So even if I were talking about some other river, right? So even if I were talking about the Nile River, let's say for example, we would have used the word the. Right? The Nile is maybe a very long river. right? The Nile. When we talk of something like the Himalayas, right, we say the Himalayas, right, because that is mountain range, right? The Himalayas, or the Andes, or the Rockies, right? So this is an exception to the rule that with proper nouns we don't use an article, right? So here the word the is used. Okay. Dash beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. Right? Dash beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. And the or nothing. Okay. Please note that in this case, right? In this case, there is no article. Right? In this case, there is no article. Right? I'll explain why there is no article. See, if I have a look at articles, there are three articles, right? And the. Right? There are three articles. And anyways I cannot use because and are generally used before countable nouns. Right? Something like beauty is not a countable noun, right? That is an abstract noun. Right? So and I cannot use. The word the may be used before a word like this, right? But I can use the word the only when I'm being very specific about something. Right? Only when I'm being very specific about something. So generally when we have abstract nouns, right? Again, this is a general rule. There are exceptions that we'll discuss later. But generally when there are abstract nouns, if you are not being specific, right, articles are not used. Right? Generally with abstract nouns, if you are not being specific, articles are not used. So for example, right, I'll just give an example. I say dash bravery is a desirable quality. Right? If I say dash bravery is a desirable quality, right? Do you agree that in this case there is no article? Right? In this case there is no article. It is simply bravery is a desirable quality. Why? Because bravery, right? It refers to something that is abstract. Right? It's an abstract noun. It refers to something that is abstract. Right? And we are not being specific about bravery. Right? So no article. Right? So no article. Now I'll give you an example of what I mean by specific. Right? In case of abstract nouns, just look at this sentence. Right? Just look at this sentence. The noun is the same. The noun is still beauty. Right? The noun is the same. What is the answer in this case? In this case, the answer is the beauty of Manali is a sight for sore eyes. Right? The beauty of Manali is a sight for sore eyes. In this case, why am I using an article? See, and an I anyways could not have used, right? Because beauty is not a countable noun. But why am I using the? I'm using the because I'm talking about something specific. I'm talking about a place, right? I'm talking about a place, right? I'm saying that the beauty of a particular place, right? Of Manali, a particular place is a sight for sore eyes, right? So now it's a specific kind of beauty. It's the beauty of a particular place or a location, right? So that is why the, and it is a sight for sore eyes, right? So in this case, it is the and a. In my opinion, see, these were 10 questions that we did, right? These were 10 questions that we did, questions 6 to 15. In my opinion, at this point in time, even if you got 7 questions correct, right? Even if you got 7 questions correct, I would say that is very good, right? At this point in time, when we have just started with grammar, right? When we have just started with grammar, even 7 out of 10 questions is very good. Right? Even if you got 6 questions correct, even that is not bad, right? Even that is good, right? For the current time scenario, right? When we have just started with grammar, right? So even 6 or 7 questions correct is good because we haven't discussed the concept of articles, right? We haven't discussed the technicality of the concept of articles, right? So this is what articles is about. right? That is fundamentally, right? As an overview, this is what articles are about, right? The words a and the. Now what we'll do is, let's stop here for the day, right? Let's stop here for the day. So essentially today what we have discussed is just parts of speech, right? Today what we have discussed is just parts of speech. There were two other concepts that we were to discuss, but we have run out of time. The two other concepts were sentence structure and phrases and clauses, right? What we will do is, we will discuss these two concepts in our next class or in one of the later classes, right? So rest assured, we will cover these two concepts also, right? Ideally, we'll do these two concepts at the beginning of our next grammar class. That is before we do nouns and pronouns, right? We'll discuss the concept of sentence structure and phrases and clauses. Okay, as far as the sheet goes, right? As far as the sheet goes, we have done questions 6 to 25, right? We have done questions 6 to 25, right? We have done these questions. The first 5 questions were the test drive, right? The remaining questions, questions 26 to 45, what I suggest is, please try these questions, right? Please try these questions purely as an evaluation exercise, right? Purely as an evaluation exercise, right? So these are 20 questions. My suggestion is, take these questions, that is when you attempt these 20 questions, take these questions as a test, right? But a test with no timing, right? So there is no timing that you have to maintain. So even if you require 30 minutes for 20 questions or 35 minutes for 20 questions, does not matter. Take as much time as you want for these 20 questions, right? But just see how many of these 20 questions you are able to get correct, right? The answers I will send on the WhatsApp group, right? But take these 20 questions as a test, right? And take it as an evaluation exercise. We haven't discussed concepts of grammar in detail, right? But definitely take this as a test. And in my opinion, right? And in my opinion, if you are able to get 12 out of 20 questions correct, right? If you're able to get 12 out of 20 questions correct, then maybe even 11 or 12 questions out of 20, I would say that at this point in time, it is a good score, right? At this point in time, I would say it is a good score. In case you can score somewhere around 14 to 15 out of 20, I would say that is very good, right? I would say that is very good. If you can score around 14 to 15 out of 20, right? Anything above 15, right, would be outstanding, right? So anything out of 50, anything more than 15 would be outstanding or excellent, right? So please do take this test as an evaluation exercise, right? In the next session, we will again discuss grammar, right? And the major topic for the next session is going to be nouns and pronouns, right? Thanks a lot. Thanks.